Well, as you know, all investments do not come without risk, and actually, silver is one of the riskiest investments out there. That's why a lot of people with a lot of money avoid it like the plague. But the thing is, it also has on the flip side where it could be high reward too. And patience is the key with something like this. It's a tumultuous investments, but enjoy the ride while it's low. Because if you're an accumulator still, I mean, you don't have to keep accumulating every freaking week. You know what I mean? There's people like got that policy where they advocate stacking. I don't want to advocate that. I mean, if you just stacked or whatever you want to call it, made an investment. I don't use that word. You can just sit on it till whenever you feel the time is ripe, that the eggs have hatched, and you take the fruits of your patience and cash them in and trade them for other capital assets. But actually in the equities markets, it looks like it's all downhill. Downhill like in San Francisco, man, like ski slope. Because, if you're looking at the way things have been moving for the last several years, we've had more growth in the equities than we should have had because traditionally the equities have been within a 1 or 2 percentage points of the GDP growth and inflation growth, whereas what's been going on in the markets, it's been more than double that. And a lot of times you always hear that cliche that the Federal Reserve policies create unexpected bubbles in different areas. Like there was the tech bubble back in the late '90s, then there was the housing bubble in in the 2000s up to I guess January 2007 was basically when the bottom started falling out of that. And then there was even the commodities bubble, which I think is going to return again with a vengeance, which was in 2011, early 2011. So, right now we actually have the bubble in the general equities. And people with money that are in the know, they do realize that the PE ratios are vastly skewed, and we have not had such a long bull run like this ever, except during the 20s. It used to be this was the third longest bull run. Now it's the second longest bull run. So when it comes down, you're going to be basically up there, up the river without a paddle, man. I mean, a lot of people are going to wind up losing a lot of capital. And that's going to be bad for business throughout the whole United States, doom and gloom. But, actually what I want to talk about is something else a little bit different here because we got other situations that are coming up that are very unusual. More unusual than even this mermaid. The situation is, well, I've been talking about this before, but, the thing is that the deal with Iran, where we had the sanctions I know they say the sanctions aren't being lifted, or maybe they are being lifted, maybe they aren't being lifted. Obama wants them to lift it. Kerry's talking about, well, will this deal go through, Allah willing? That was ludicrous. I couldn't believe that. Former traitor Vietnam protester, now Secretary of State. God, the other thing is, all these people, these politicians, including Hillary Clinton, man, they would throw, I know there's people out there that get mad at Israel, but I'll tell you one thing, these people that are up there, career politicians, they would throw Israel under the bus in a second flat. That's a fact. That's a fact, Jack. They would. Kerry, Hillary, Bush, all of them. And I almost think that's what's going on right now because the situation is that, when they let Iran have these, the sanctions are being lifted in one way or the other. But, the cat's out of the bag in this way because Russia has been saying, well, now that the sanctions are lifted, we're going to sell Iran S-300 missiles. And, they're saying, well, they're only for defensive purposes. Get the hell out of here, man. Plus, on top of it, Iran probably already has nukes. I mean, a lot of people, you really can't prove it one way or the other because, if they could prove it, I mean, they would have already been slamming the hell out of them. But if you weren't born yesterday, you could probably figure Iran already has nukes, but they're not using them because they're afraid of getting whacked. I mean, that's really the situation, I think. It's not. It's almost like obvious. But, you have this stuff, but they're not going to use it because they're afraid of retaliation. But the thing is, once they get the S-300 missiles, that gives them enough strength. In other words, if you think you got the strength to win, you might use them then. You know, you also seen Iran send ships outside of Yemen, ships, right? Because, to support the rebels on the southern coast and all this kind of garbage like that. The thing is that all these tensions are bringing up oil prices, which I've been talking about for a long time, because the key to silver and all the commodities moving up is going to be the damn oil prices. The same thing that happened in the 70s, the same type of analogy that happened in the 70s where we had stagflation. The economy was kind of bull and there was inflation going on. Inflation not in large, hard capital consumer goods like, cars are sitting on a dealership. They're not really, they're not doing a brisk business. Retail sales of furniture, appliances, not doing a brisk business. But we're going to see that's not going to be inflating. That's going to be probably deflating. But you see, this is typical what happens during I don't want to call it hyperinflation, but say inflation. Because we're not going into hyperinflation, but we're going to see inflation in energy and food. Because even without the problems with the dollar, these Middle East events are going to cause oil to go back up again. I've been saying this, and now it became very clear to me that Obama's in there to basically, him and Valerie are basically going to strengthen Iran by, lifting the sanctions, making these deals, and then there's going to be a major confrontation between the Sunni and Shiite side, and a lot of that oil is going to come off the market. In the meantime, the USA, Canada, Australia, and UK is sitting pretty on oil, which I put out before about UK finding 100 billion barrels of oil that, a lot of it's expensive to extract, but not all of it, but just south of London. They got oil all over the place. They don't need freaking Saudi, man. And then you got Australia's got 40 times their reserves they thought they had in the Okavango Basin. They found that out a couple years ago, but they confirmed it. So, they would like this oil to go up because it would be good for the shale oil producers, because then they can actually make more money. So if Saudi's oil comes off the market, OPEC's falling apart. So as oil goes up, you're going to see the metals go up. It's all related. When oil goes into super spike, gold goes into super spike. And it's not really due to exactly like the dollar fundamentals and stuff like that. It is due to tensions in the Middle East. That's usually what happens. It's almost always what happens. Actually, when the oil goes up, you need to be going back to old school, man. The old VW and the bicycle, man. I'm going to tell you, man, sometimes when things go full circle all the way, man, high tech just don't cut it, man. I'm telling you, I believe in high tech. I don't know, I'm a techie in some ways, but then other ways I like simplicity. So, you're probably going to be going back to full circle again. But the thing is, we're basically at a crossroads with a lot of steel because, the situation is changing. It's changing ever so slowly with the markets. You notice they're kind of like, a little over 18,000 on the Dow, a little bit below. They're going up and down, but they're not really going anywhere. The dollar's staying strong, but it's not really moving up more now. It's kind of like it's peaked out. And it only takes, a day, 2 days, a week for the whole thing to come down. That's what's always happened, man. And everybody's kind of getting bored with the freaking markets because they're kind of flat, But we're basically at a crossroads. We're right at that teeter-totter point where things are starting to change. Now, the USA is not going to necessarily have all these doom and gloom problems like Alex Jones is putting out and stuff like that. I mean, these guys are like just fearmongers to the max. Actually, we could straighten out a lot of our situation if we just look to what we need to do and look at the situation and apprise the situation. Because one of the main things we got with a problem with in the United States is infrastructure that's been built, decades and decades ago needs a lot of repair. Now, that's a hot subject too because, they don't want to touch that gasoline tax, but they're starting to, they're going to raise it now because oil's been low and people aren't going to feel it. If oil was high, but then what's going to happen is the tax ain't going to go away. And the tax is not going to go away, and oil is going to go right back up to way over $100 a barrel. I think oil is going to super spike like crazy, and that's what's going to bring your metals to fruition. I don't think I can't really predict really long term, but I do know that it's a basic axiom that if the metals move up extremely fast, and that's what happens with silver a lot of times, all of a sudden it just rockets up like crazy, and then it could rocket up, crash, and rocket up even a way lot more. But you're not going to be lucky to guess the exact peak. But the point is, if it rockets up too damn fast, and all the miners are flush with cash again, guess what? That situation's not going to stay that way forever, even though it could spike even higher than. I figure I'm going to miss the peak. I figure I am going to miss the peak, because it's almost like you got to get lucky as all hell. So I'm going to do things in stages, and sell it as when we need it. But it's almost like you're sitting on a bowl of candy here. You don't want to eat it right away. You want to basically take some here and there. It's like when you take that cash, you want to take some here and there, and then trade it in for capital assets. But the S-300 missiles that Iran is, getting from Russia now, because Russia says, hey, okay, the sanctions are lifted. Oh, yeah, you can have these for defensive purposes. Well, Israel, more than likely, I don't want to freaking fan the flames of, drama here. But I'm trying to think of what I would do in their shoes if I was them. I know people are going to disagree with this because there's a lot of people out there just don't like Israel. But if I was them, I would already figure Iran has nuclear missiles, but they don't have a lot of them, and they're not going to use them because of retaliation. That's the same reason Russia doesn't use missiles either, because we got the mutually assured destruction informal treaty in place. In the case of Iran, it would be basically Iran assured destruction if they ever try to use a nuclear missile against Israel. But with those S-300 missiles and the sanctions being lifted, and them being be able to export more of their Shiite Muslim radicals over to Israel and to Saudi and break things down, I almost think it's a guess. It is honestly a guess. I think Israel might strike them because it ain't. There's always it's always been that way. It's like they ain't gonna freaking wait around for the world to change their opinion on this garbage. Everybody's sitting around. The Obama administration ain't gonna do nothing about that. And it's despite you got Hillary Clinton. She's like somebody who's talks a lot about supporting Israel. She don't support Israel. I can tell you that right now. She's an opportunist politician to the max. Actually, if the entire world was in support of Israel and they actually walked on water, I'd be the idiot criticizing them. I would be. Because I'm that type of person. Right now, the pendulum has swung so far against Israel. Well, it comes right down to what I would criticize Israel, but I wouldn't hate Israel. How's that? That's basically the difference. You know what I mean? You don't do anybody friends any good by kissing their ass, and that's basically what these politicians do. Kerry, and look how fast he turned his back on them. Right? It pisses me off because I realize what those snake oil jackasses are about. When the going gets tough, where the hell are you? You're vaporware, right? That's what Hillary would be too. But we're walking the road to nowhere with these politicians, whether they're freaking Republicans or Democrats. And, I said this before, but, I feel like I'm the only person that actually votes independent. I mean, if they put up a decent Republican, and I wind up with Hillary, I'll vote for the Republican. But if it's Jeb Bush, I am definitely not voting for that guy or Hillary. Forget it. It's going to be other. And, that's the situation we got. Because, America was founded upon independence and going your own way. It wasn't founded upon, just following the crowd. Because if we were just following the crowd, we'd still be under the king, That's the whole deal. And, basically that ought to be your way even when you're thinking about Israel. Because, and I know people freaking get pissed off at this, but, it's almost like when the whole freaking world starts blaming Jews on every freaking problem in the world, something's freaking wrong there. Because there's other things going on. But then when the whole world says the whole Jews walk on water, then you can be critical. That's the way I look at it. But I think Israel is going to do the right thing if they strike Iran. I could definitely see what the freaking alternative media is going to do, though. You're going to be crucifying the hell out of them. You know what I mean? They're going to be crucifying the hell of them. What the hell else is new, right? The more things change, the more they stay the same. That's exactly what happens. So I got to say, this, that the elite always have walked the tightrope. And, one of the things that happens with people with a lot of power, it goes to their head. And what happens with the people with a lot of power is this. This is why they could fall. They get overconfident because they got a lot of power. They've been right all along. They got either lucky or through, not just lucky, but they also through a lot of hard work. And they got to a situation where they're doing really good and they're up on top of the world. And that gives them a false sense of confidence that they can't make a wrong move. And the reality of the situation is they're always vulnerable. And, the more power they got, the more inclined they are to taking risks. So, the situation can change for the better for the common people because the elite can get swallowed up in the abyss very easily. But, if they get swallowed up in the abyss, what does that do? Does that do you any good? No. It just basically means they're done with, and they've never done you any good anymore. They just can't screw you over anymore. But what it comes right down to, you're the one that really makes your own future. Period. You, right? That's why just sitting on silver candy is not going to be the whole solution to every freaking problem in the world, It's a lot of other different things, too. But, when that silver candy goes up a lot more, you might want to trade it in by Wilson's General Store over here and get some other capital assets, Because, really, the situation in America has not really changed much. We've had this kind of crap going on back in the 20s. We had it going on in the 30s. We had it going on in the 1800s. It ain't no different today than it ever been, You got to keep a positive attitude and blah, 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 and all that kind of shit. But, the thing is, I'm seeing the writing on the wall with the oil going up in the Middle East tensions. There's a lot more situations occurring where you got problems on Saudi's borders on the south and on the north with ISIS, and on the south in Yemen with the Shiite-backed rebels that are backed by Iran. So, you're seeing this starting to happen in spurts. The oil goes up. It wasn't that long ago they were talking below $20 a barrel oil. Definitely below 30, right? And then it was around 40, and it's 50. Now it's 56 on the WTI. You see what's going on? You could already. That's a key. That's a key to where freaking silver, and that's what's keeping up the commodities too. But all the best minds in the world, almost all of them screw up on commodities. I can tell you that right now. I've seen some really exotic commodities. I took some crap. Well, Caesium isotope 133 atomic trigger commodities, man. They were like, I don't even know how they value this crap. You could pay some bozo $50,000 to do what they say, and it tells you it's worth this much. And it goes on the private placement platform, I don't even know how they value this crap. But, the thing is, the spot market is basically a rigged market. It's an electronic market. It's supposed to be a discovery market, but it's a rigged market. The actual physical prices are not going to necessarily be what the spot market is going to say it is if the demand is there. Because I think that in a situation where, well, if you got to have something, you got to have something. There's investor panic or whatever the hell it is, you're going to be able to sell silver for more than spot. Now, I mean, not 2 or 3 times more than spot, but it might be 10 or 20% more than spot on a physical market. It may very well be. Because the situation's going to get to the point where when these markets evaporate, and they are going to, I think we're going to have maybe the second worst crash in U.S. history in the equities. Not because I'm a doom and gloomer, but because all the reality points to that way because of what the PE ratios are And you know, there's a lot of people with a lot of money. They're talking. They got bad feelings about what's coming up in the future. But you know, the major media talks like, well, yeah, just stick your money, leave it there. You know, even though all this stuff is going on, yeah, just leave your money there, no problem. Yeah, we'll take care of it. Yeah, right. But you know, the thing is, silver's not the whole freaking be all end all of all the smart investments. A lot of people have invested in farmland, which is going to be very important because with all the weather changes, crop production is going to be very important too. But you as an individual who are somebody who's not going to be able to invest, loads of money into, $1 million and millions of dollars of ranch land and farmland, it's a lot simpler just to invest in silver coin. At these prices, it's a steal. It's been a steal. It sounds boring because it was, now I'm a person, I didn't buy this stuff over 30, okay? I know there's people out there telling you it was a freaking bargain at $45 an ounce and stuff like that. I wasn't one of those people. And I remember when it was over $40 an ounce, there was people predicting it was going to go to 500, and I was putting out videos that I thought that was ludicrous. Because, if something goes up double, it's like this. If something, like say for instance, you look at this bicycle, say it was, $300, and you're thinking, wow, that's a good deal. So, if it's $300, you think, well, okay, maybe I'd buy that. If it's $600, would I buy it? Well, maybe. Well, say it was, it went up 10 times for $300 or $3,000. Would you buy that? No. That's the kind of things these people are. That's why I don't get what the hell they're talking about. Well, those are just plain pumpers. But silver could spike to something higher than it should be very temporarily, and you're going to have to be lucky to get the exact top. I know I ain't going to get the exact top. Nobody. Some people are. But I might get a part of my stash at the exact top. But I'm not going to sell all of it no matter what, because there's always going to be that situation in the future where you're going to have to ride out risk. And silver's always been money going all the way back. So it's a little bit of a hedge no matter how you look at it, even under the times when silver looks like a bad investment. But, where things are going today with the Middle East events, I think oil is going to be up to the stratosphere temporarily. And I actually tend to think that, they're not going to really move away from oil too fast on even with the cars, with the electric cars, because I think hybrids might be more a wave of the future than purely electric cars, because they're making too much money on the oil itself, and they're not going to make as much money on electric cars, even if they control them and tax them in other ways. And the other situation is that they're not going to be able to push the carbon tax, which is trying to push that for the global government. That's one of the main models they want to use. So if oil is in demand as transportation throughout the world, they're not going to be able to push that carbon tax. If it goes all electric, goodbye carbon tax. Because who the hell's using anything that's carbon based? Fuels, right? Nobody, right? And the other deal is that, when oil goes up, though, like I said, that's when you're going to see gold go up. That's when you're going to see silver freaking really go up. And Middle East events could throw the fundamentals of what people think is going to happen right out the window in 2 seconds flat. As a matter of fact, I could tell you there were experts in the real estate markets that have been in it for all their lives, decades, from the 60s on. They made all kinds of wrong predictions of what happened in 2007. So, beware of even the experts in, where they say the miners, I've been this in silver, I've been this in gold. I think it's traditionally what's going to happen is it's going to super spike when the Middle East really blows up. And it's going to come back down. But it's not going to come down to these levels again where it's going to be, below $20 an ounce. You're probably never going to even see over $30 an ounce when it longer, even in a few years. When it goes up the next time and it busts through 50, it's, it might go to 65 to 75. And then if it retreats again, it probably only go down to the 30s. So you're never going to see these prices again. You're going to be kicking yourself in the ass if you didn't buy the stuff when it was low. That's what's going to happen. So do be patient with the deal, because looks like, the events in the Middle East are they're clicking up one step at a time. And this last thing with the S-300 missiles is, and also what's been going on in Yemen, and and also what's going on with Yemen, and also what I think Israel might do. If Israel, I suspect Israel is going to attack Iran over these missiles, because I think they got to. You tell me Iran's not going to use those missiles. They have no intention of using those missiles. They're only for defensive purposes. Get the hell out of here, man. I mean, come on. I know people out there are going to be disagreeing with me on this deal, but I can also tell you, I can't. I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. But I know what the alternative media is going to do. They're going to be attacking Israel left and right. And, I wish they, it's all right to criticize Israel, but damn, man, these guys are getting stupid with this shit. They really are. That's why I won't criticize it, because there's so many people went way, 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 way overboard on this shit that I'm not going to criticize Israel. I'm saying, what the hell's the matter with these idiots? They think everything's a freaking Jewish conspiracy theory? What's the matter with these people? They're freaking dumb. They're dumb. It's not. It's not like that, man. The problem is people haven't been in other countries and other parts of the world where they realized, they can realize that there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the world. Is everybody wants to be on the top. Everybody. Everybody, man. And everybody's plotting. That don't mean they got all the power in the world, man. Everybody wants to be on the top. What do you think the Iranians want to do? What do you think the freaking Saudi family wants to do? They're all like that. What do you think the Chinese elite communists want to do? What do you think the freaking Putin gang wants to do? And, of course, the Western elite. What do you think they want to do? In the meantime, just hang out with the mermaid and be chill and don't worry about it.